Hey guys, thank you for joining me today for this video, and I can tell you that this is probably going to be a long video. I'm going to put in the chapter breaks so that you can just go right to your type if you're interested in just getting the information quickly. But this is a video for the Enneagram insiders. For you guys that, live, breathe, and think about the Enneagram, this is going to be a video made for you guys. And we're going to talk about the fact that every type has something to grieve. And I know you want to jump ahead to your type, but I would really encourage you to listen to this first part, this introduction, then maybe jump ahead to your type, and if you don't want to listen to the whole video. I come from a very strong Christian background, and I see the Enneagram through that lens. And I think that's always been obvious. I mean, there's always been Bibles behind me or guitars, and I look at the world through that lens. And so from that viewpoint, I blend my Christian worldview with the Enneagram, and I see the Enneagram as something that helps us to see our brokenness. We don't live in the Garden of Eden any longer, and all of us have been affected by that, and we don't live in a perfect environment. We live in an environment where there's brokenness and chaos and relationship problems and poverty and abuse and disease and all these terrible things. And I think all of these Enneagram types show us in one way or another, the brokenness that has happened to humanity. And all of us are kind of struggling, and we're all looking for fulfillment in this world, but this world is not the Garden of Eden. Now, ultimately, from a Christian worldview, everything's going to be made right again, and one day when we're in heaven, we'll finally realize this search that we're on will be over. What we've been longing for will be finally given to us or realized. But in this life, Jesus said we will have trouble. And I think every Enneagram type, in a sense, has got this longing for the world to be made right again. Each of us has a different aspect or shows a different aspect of how we're longing for something that is missing and something that can never be fully realized in the world as it is. Understanding this can help us appreciate that longing and also lead us to a point where we can sort of grieve the loss that what we long for will never be fully realized. And so once we grieve that loss, which it's a lifetime of grieving that loss, once we grieve that loss, we can kind of let other people off the hook, and let God off the hook and let ourselves off the hook, that what we long for can never really be fully satisfied in this life. And we want to go through each of the 9 types and help you see that the thing they're longing for can never really be fully realized. Let's grieve that loss every day and sort of change our expectations. Instead of demanding that the world or demanding that others provide for me what I'm longing for, wouldn't it be healthier if I could realize that this world and everybody in it is a little bit broken, and no one can fully satisfy that longing of my heart. And, the Bible says that God has put eternity in our hearts and that longing for things to be made right again. So if you've ever felt that, and I'm going to be looking at my notes because there's no way I can go through all this information just in my head. So I'm kind of looking at my notes as I go. I said this is for you guys that are insiders. I'm not trying to impress anybody, and probably not going to get any more new viewers because of a video like this. But if you have been feeling that inner ache, that sense of something is broken, then this video is for you, because everything is broken. All relationships are broken. Our bodies are broken. I remember when my little brother was born and he was born deaf, somebody asked my dad. Now, there were 3 boys, right? My older brother, myself, and then 7 years later, Michael was born. And somebody asked my dad and mom, what's it like raising a disabled child? And my dad just looked at him and said, "Which one are you talking about?" And obviously my brother and I, we had no, formal disabilities. But the point is all of us are a little bit disabled. All of us have some challenges, right? None of us are perfect. So I want you to see the Enneagram as not primarily a path for enlightenment. Sometimes people on both sides, fight about the Enneagram. The worldly scholars of this age, the wisdom of man says this is a spiritual tool. It's pseudoscience, and they don't like it because it sounds too spiritual, because it deals with matters of the soul. Once you go beneath the surface, you're talking about matters of the soul, and realize a lot of people don't want to talk about the soul. They'll talk about their personality, but they don't want to talk about the soul. And so they look at it as a spiritual tool that churches use, or, for spiritual enlightenment. And so the world of psychology kind of shuns the Enneagram. And then you look over into the world of the church and they're like, I don't know about this. What is this? I don't like this. You're telling people that they can be enlightened and they don't need Jesus. They don't need a savior. And I'm thinking, that's not at all what the Enneagram shows us. And I realize, there's writers on both sides, and it seems like they don't interact well. But I don't think the Enneagram shows us how to be enlightened without a savior. I think it shows us very clearly our brokenness. As Alice Freiling says in her book, Mirror for the Soul, the Enneagram and the Bible tell us the same things. They just use different words. And, she's a Christian as well. So I think the Enneagram, it helps us to see what we long for and how things are not ever going to fully satisfy us in this life, and to live more present. See, once we grieve the loss that what I long for is never going to be fully realized in this life, it turns my heart upward to a savior, but it also, and to an eternal home, but it also helps me to be more present to this life. Like, okay, well, I'm living in a wilderness, and I need to change my expectations. And what's crazy is the very thing you search for, your Enneagram type searches for and longs for, is what you provide. Once you grieve the loss and you let it go a little bit, and you're not running so hard pursuing after that thing you're chasing, you then turn to this world and you become a source of that very same thing and provide it to others. Now, this subject that we're talking about, if you are interested in this kind of thing, then go to my website, tomlahue.com. It's in the description below. Look at my on-demand classes and look up the Enneagram and Christian life coaching. That class is offered live every once in a while, but it's always on demand. And if you like this kind of topic, that may be a class that you would like. Or the Enneagram and spiritual coaching, that spirituality coaching, that may be something you like as well. Each Enneagram type has a unique form of grief, something they long for that cannot be fully attained or received in this life. And in grieving this life, in grieving this loss, we can actually live more freely and authentically. So let's explore what this means for every type. And here's where I'll put my first, chapter break. Type 1, the perfectionist. Well, that should be obvious, right? Type 1s, you have to grieve the loss that you and nobody else and nothing else in this world, I'm not saying God, but in this world as it is, nothing in this fallen world will ever live up to that perfect standard that you have. Why? Because it's not the Garden of Eden. See, if we were in the Garden of Eden, everything would live up to that perfectionistic standard. But we're not there. We're here. And everything in this world is under a curse, and it's all broken. So for type 1s, the drive for perfection is relentless. They long to make the world right. Amazing. That's great. To fix what's broken. Great. To live up to their incredibly high standards. But here's the hard truth. You will never live up to those perfect standards. And so what's the sin then? The sin is anger, because everything's broken and you're angry at yourself and everything else because nothing lives up to that perfect standard. Nothing in this world is perfect. And the grief for type 1s is accepting that perfection is out of reach in this life. And as you grieve this loss, you're able to then let go of some of those impossible expectations, and then you can show up more fully with grace and embrace the beauty of the imperfect world that God has created. Now, God created a perfect world, but this world is now imperfect because of sin. And notice, when you can grieve that loss and have more realistic expectations for the world as it is and others as they are, you then become a source of bringing that goodness and righteousness and all of those things into this world, because that's what you long for. So you bring that and share that and remind us of that value in a healthy way. All right, so type 2's the giver, helper, connector. The grief of never fully being loved to the capacity in which you are capable. Okay, so for type 2s, the longing is to be loved deeply, to feel like they are the priority in other people's lives, that you matter. You're a worth and value type. So you're every once in a while you're wondering, do these people around me really care about me? Do they really love me? Notice you have this enormous capacity to receive love from others, and it never fully feels satisfied. Even though other people would say, yes, we love you. Absolutely, you're important to us. Absolutely, you matter to us. There may be always this longing suspicion that, do I really matter? Because if I really mattered, then why ... fill in the blank. If I really was important to you, if you really cared about me the way I care about you, then why does ... fill in the blank. All right, why are things so? But no matter how much you love, no matter how much love you give or how much love you receive, how much love is pointed at you, you can say it that way, there will always be this sense that it's never quite enough, that people are never quite loving enough, the world is never quite loving enough, that people, don't care like we ought to care. They will never feel as fully cherished as they desire, because the love we seek in this broken world will always fall short of what we were made for or what we are capable of. 2s have to grieve the loss of ever feeling completely fulfilled by the love of others. But in doing so, you open your heart up to the ultimate love of God, and a love that surpasses any human affection. And then again, think, once you accept this, that you're never really going to be filled to 100% of what you're capable of, and you're more okay with that, like you accept that, then look, you become a source of love to others in this world. You actually show the rest of us what love is supposed to look like. You attend to people's needs, you care for them, you serve them. But see, if you can't grieve this loss, you're just going to end up bitter and angry and frustrated and alone, thinking that nobody really loves you or cares about you. This is so powerful, guys, so powerful. Okay, type 3's the performer, the well, the other name just, I lost it, but whatever. The achiever, right? The achiever, the performer. Type 3s want to be recognized for their achievements, their effectiveness, for their ability to overcome obstacles, to push themselves, to better themselves, to be people of worth and value, to be people of significance, okay? They want to succeed. And really, they want to be admired. Like, they want people to recognize this and to feel competent and to be admired by other people. But the grief they have to face is that no achievement, no matter how significant it is, no accomplishment, no career path, nothing can ever fully fulfill you to the point that you feel like you've arrived and you have achieved all that needs to be achieved. There's always going to be another goal that lays itself in front of you that you feel you must pursue. And no success is ever going to help you to fully realize and feel that sense of fulfillment that you long for. So the applause will always fade. And the satisfaction that comes with that applause will always be short-lived. It'll never fully fulfill this longing for accomplishment, achievement, or value. Remember, you're a worth and value type, right? So they must come to terms with the fact that their true worth cannot be measured simply by external validation, by other people's response to you. And in grieving this, 3s can stop chasing the approval so much, the boulder chasing you that you have to achieve and accomplish, or you have to have everybody's admiration. And you can begin to rest in your God-given identity that is beyond your accomplishments. And when you can grieve this loss, you can then accept life a little more as it is and become a source of challenge and encouragement to the rest of us. Come alongside of us and say, hey, Tom, you could push yourself a little bit. You've kind of gotten stuck. You could reach another level. And see, you then become a source of encouragement and admiration and cheerleading and, sort of helping the rest of us believe that more could be accomplished when you can grieve your own longing for significance. Okay, let's look at type 4, the grief of missing identity. Now, 4s, I could really use your help as we go through this, maybe in the comments. I'm always challenged with 4s and making sure I understand it completely, but here's what I have in my notes. For type 4s, the ache is about feeling unique, special, and understood. It's a worth and value type, and so differentiating yourself away from the group in various ways to stand out and feel significant and feel valuable and to let your longing for what's missing and really realize there is something missing. We're not in the Garden of Eden. Of course, there's something missing. We have this shame about us that, we wear clothes. Read the Bible. Adam and Eve didn't wear clothes. We wear clothes because immediately after they ate the fruit, they felt shame. And so 4s, I think they're more in touch with this sense of shame, and they constantly search for the missing piece. Well, again, the missing piece, I think, is we have fallen from this position that we originally held. And yeah, there's something missing. There's something that we're longing for, that perfect state or that perfect connection that we would have had together or we would have had with God. And the grief, and we would have been whole, but now we're not whole. We're fractured, we're fragmented. And so there's something definitely missing. And this grief is realizing that you'll never fully find what you feel is missing in this world. No relationship, no person, no pen pal in Paris, no misty mountain morning in, off the coast of Ireland, whatever you can imagine, whatever your idealistic mind can imagine. There's no place out there and there's no person out there that can fully help you feel fulfilled and fully realized and enlightened. There's no painting you can paint, no song you can write that will make you feel completely fulfilled or full or whatever, however you might say it. Okay. So 4s must come to terms with the fact that their uniqueness and sense of belonging cannot be fully realized here. Grieving this opens the door for them to live authentically, embracing their emotions while trusting that their ultimate identity is found in God. And you are special. You are made in the image of God, and you're special and unique and stand out in without having to try to make yourself stand out. You're already unique and special without making yourself unique or special. And I think one of the things that 4s do is when they can grieve that loss, they're able to then show up and remind us, not only to bring healing to us, for us to help us go into our dark places and face those demons, but also I think 4s remind the rest of us that there's beauty in brokenness and that each of us is unique and special and important and valuable. But an unhealthy 4, they just diminish other people. Remember, the sin is envy, right? And so the name of the 4-wing 3 is the aristocrat. What is that? That's I'm better than you. 4s have that feeling, that everyone has it better than they do. And then an unhealthy 4 will just communicate that backwards to you. But a healthy 4 comes down into the pit with you and helps you see the purpose and meaning and value in all of your suffering and helps you to endure. And it's called the healer. Okay. Type 5. The grief of never knowing enough or never being safe enough, insulated enough from the terrors of this world. And you're never going to know enough. You're never going to fully realize and have all the information that you want. Type 5s long to understand the world. Great. Who doesn't want to understand the world? But sometimes this path of trying to understand the world can lead you down some pretty strange roads. I think if you really want to understand the world, read the Bible. But that's my opinion as a Christian. So this 100 years that we have on this planet, you're trying to gain all this information and understand how the world works. And notice you're a fear type. So there's safety in understanding the world. If I understand it, then I don't need to be afraid of it. If I can name the demon, then I have power over the demon is kind of the idea, right? But it's a facade. You never really know enough to, be completely safe and isolated away from the pains and troubles of this world. To master knowledge and to control through insight, or to gain control through insight. To be self-reliant and independent, I think is, the competent desire of all 5s is to be self-reliant and independent and not need anything or need obligation to others. But they have to grieve the fact, you have to grieve the fact that you'll never know enough to feel secure, or never know enough to fully feel empowered or safe. There will always be more questions than answers. No matter how much you know, there will always be more questions than answers and more mysteries than solutions. So accepting this limitation and grieving that loss, that I'm never going to fully grasp every bit of information out there that I would like to know. And maybe then I can let go of some of my isolation and some of my anxiety and trust in God's wisdom and his plan rather than my own, and trust that his revelation is true and I can trust what he says, even though I can't understand all of it. And then notice, when 5s can grieve that loss, they then inspire others to curiosity and information and knowledge. In fact, they show us what learning and information and knowledge, what it looks like and how it's valuable. But an unhealthy 5, they just make you feel stupid about how ignorant you are. Nobody in my class passes my class, and I'm the smartest person in the room. An unhealthy 5 just needs you to see that they're so much smarter and so much more competent and so much more on the inside than you are. But a healthy 5 who can grieve that loss of not ever having all the answers they would like to have, can rest in some confidence and then inspire the rest of us to pursue answers and knowledge and to question our beliefs and question our assumptions and become great challengers for truth. And again, line to 8, right? They become challengers. All right, type 6. You're never going to feel secure. Hey, type 6. You know how I could creep you out right now? Well, a couple of ways. I could say, hey, type 6, do you trust me? And then you're like, okay, nope, not now, not once you ask that. Okay, or here's another way to creep you out. Mommy and daddy love you very much, and we want you to know that you're always going to be safe. And as soon as somebody tells you that, you're like, no, you can't promise that. You can't promise I'm always going to be safe. Because you can't, because we don't live in the Garden of Eden. We live in a world with monsters, and these monsters hide under our beds, and they will come out and they will attack you. And so 6s, they understand this, and they're like, how can you people live like this? How can you just go on acting as though there aren't monsters under our beds that want to kill us? Wake up, people. We need to band together. We need to join together, and we need to be on high alert and be vigilant. We need to point and tell and tattle on all of these threats that are out there. Well, type 6s, they search for security and safety and loyalty. One of the reasons they're called the loyalist is not always because they're so loyal, but because that's what they long for. We give what we long for, and 6s long for somebody who is loyal to them and who will be there to support them. They want to be a part of the motorcycle gang, because you mess with me, you mess with the whole gang, and the whole gang will pounce on you, and I am protected. Okay? So they crave certainty and reassurance. So assurance, certainty, support, all these things. But the grief they face is you'll never feel absolutely secure in this world. Doesn't matter how much insurance you have. Doesn't matter how many bodyguards you have. Your bodyguards can't keep you from having cancer. Okay, so there's no way in this world that you can fully live over a net. You can't. There's you fall, you die. There's going to always be the fear of death and the fear of threat and the fear of insecurity and anxiety is always going to be a part. You grieve the loss. You don't live in the Garden of Eden. We have to grieve this loss. And as soon as we do that, you see, there's this acceptance then that we can feel for living in the world as it is. Otherwise, we're just constantly chasing security, chasing security. You're never going to feel 100% secure. Now, the fear lives in you. And see, now you're blaming everybody because they're making me feel. Remember, the defense strategy is projection. So you're projecting. They're making me feel this way. No, they're not. They may not be helping you feel more secure by the way they're interacting with you, but the fear lives in you. Grieve the loss. You're never going to feel safe and secure in this world. Now, I'm not a 6, but I'm a 7 wing 6, and I feel that 6 stuff. I do. I feel it, but I can't say that I feel it to the same degree you do. Okay, but you'll never find absolute security in this world. You'll never feel 100% completely safe in this world. Danger, uncertainty, and doubt will always exist in this life. Always. Always. It'll never go away. But in grieving this loss of perfect security, 6s can learn to trust more that God's working everything out for a plan, and that in the end, his children win, and he will make everything right, and it'll all be okay in the end, even though it's tragic right now, even though it's frustrating and horrible and awful, and people treat each other awfully right now. So trusting God's protection and faithfulness, allowing them to live more courageously. And remember, that's what 6 is. What you bring is the very thing you chase. When you can grieve this loss, you then become a source of loyalty and security and safety. You become the security guards, the Marines, the Coast Guard. You become the police department. You become all these things that provide security for others when you can relax this need in yourself. Okay, type 7s. I need to get a drink of water for this one. Type 7s. Okay, that's my type, right? So type 7s go out into this world looking for fulfillment. They look for life with passion, looking for excitement, looking for adventure, looking for to complete my collection. So 7s are collectors. They've always got a wall of crap behind us that we have collected, and we got to try this one, and we got to try that one, and we got to try this one, and what about this one? And so we're always longing for satisfaction. We're longing to be satisfied. Our sin is gluttony, so we're always a little bit empty and always reaching out for something outside of ourselves that can fully satisfy us and make us feel happy and complete. And, life is better on the other side of the sea, Ariel, okay? So 7s are constantly chasing the next adventure, the next experience, and always believing that fulfillment is just around the corner. That item that I ordered, once I have that, then I'll be full. I'll be finished. But we are never full, never finished. Why? Because we're not in the Garden of Eden. We're never going to be satisfied in this world. We're always going to wake up hungry for tomorrow's manna, right? So here's the truth. 7s will never have every experience they long for. If you don't understand that, you're going to spend all your time and all your money and all your energy trying to get that next experience, because once I have that, once I own this, once I do this, then I'll feel fulfilled. No, you won't. You never will. So cut your ties, grieve your loss, and fully be present to life right now as it is. But see, you can't be present to this life because you're longing for tomorrow. You're longing for what we could be doing, what we could be experiencing, so you can't fully be present in what you are experiencing. Okay, so never fully satisfied in this life. No, you won't be. So accept it. You'll never be fully satisfied in this life. You could always experience more, and more fun, more happiness, more excitement. You're never going to be it's like a buffet. Imagine a giant buffet, and there's no way you could try every item because you end up full. Right? So instead of grieving the loss that, there's more items that I didn't get to try, why not just experience the fullness that comes from what you are able to take in? Grieve the loss that I'm never going to be able to experience every item on the buffet, and that's okay. And I accept that. You know what's crazy is sevens then become a source of excitement and a source of happiness and a source of adventure and a source of joy into this world. But not when not when they don't grieve their loss. They just become a pouting, sulking, angry, irritated, disappointed person. So grieving this fact that the world will always leave you wanting more, that there's nothing in this world that can fully satisfy us. Grieving this fact allows sevens to be more present to the moment, find joy in the now rather than always looking ahead and having to teleport away from life as it is. And again, you become a source of all these things to the world. You're here to bring joy, to bring inspiration, to tell people your life could be better. And guys, I want to live in that space. I want to live in that space. I'm trying to live in that space. Sometimes I have to remember I got to grieve the loss and move on. Okay, number 8. You're never going to be in control. There. What else do you want me to say? No matter how much you protect yourself or protect your world or try to get in control of things, you're never going to feel fully in control because you're not. Period. The end. You're not in control. You weren't in. Think before you were born, who was in control? It wasn't you. And after you die, who's going to be in control? Not going to be you. So why do you think you're going to be in control in this short 80 years that you live? Okay, so type 8s crave control and power, wanting to protect themselves. And if an 8 loves you, it feels like protection. Okay, protecting themselves and those that they love, protecting them from harm. But the grief that 8s have to face is you're never going to be completely in control. Life is unpredictable, and vulnerability is part of the human experience. When you can grieve this loss that you're never going to be fully in charge of yourself or others. Look, again, if you had cancer, if God forbid, if you were to get cancer, you can't just make that go away because you're just powerful. You're just, I'm going to push it out of my body. If anybody could, it would be 8s, but you can't. And you see, you are vulnerable. No matter how strong or powerful you may think you are, you have to grieve the loss that you can't protect yourself from every threat. You can't protect yourself or be in control of everything. What you'll do is you'll then focus on what you can control. Well, I'm going to fire that doctor and get this other doctor. And you'll focus on what you can control because it's so hard to face the reality that most of this you can't control. So when 8s grieve that loss, they begin to embrace their softer side, recognizing their true strength is found not in control of everything, but in their trust and surrender. Surrender to God. Surrendering that God is in control. It's not easy. It's going to be every day that you have to do this. And then, 8s, when you can relax that need to be in control of everything, you then remind the rest of us to control what we can. You come alongside of me and say, Tom, if you're not happy about something, why don't you change it? Because there is so much we can control, and a lot of us just give up all control. We just, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. And 8s come along and they remind us, like, own your life, man. Own your space. Own your voice. If you don't like something in your life, change it. And then you remind the rest of us to control what is in our right to control and under our authority to control. But you just have to grieve the loss as an 8 that not everything in your life is under your control. A lot of it is not. And that's not easy to face. Okay, let's talk about type 9. We're almost done here. Okay, so type 9s. Type 9s long for peace and harmony. Like, just think the serenity of the Garden of Eden, right? You long for the harmony where everybody's listening to each other and everybody's working together, and there's complete peace and harmony between us and God and us and each other. And so this can cause 9s sometimes to avoid conflict or discomfort at any cost. But they have to grieve the reality that true peace and true harmony and true comfort will never really exist fully in this life as it is. It's a fallen world, and we don't have peace with God. I mean, Jesus provides us a path to peace with God, but just out of the gate, we don't have peace with God, and we have enmity not only against God, but against each other. There's strife between, Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent, and there's this fight now that exists within all of us for our own rights, our own values, our own truth, and we're all kind of at war with each other and fragmented. That's a good word. We're all fragmented. And nines grieve that loss, that the world is this way, that you have to grieve the reality that true peace will never be fully realized. You'll never feel fully comfortable. You'll never feel fully at harmony with everything in your environment. So conflict is inevitable. We are in a conflict. We're in a battle. And conflict is inevitable, and avoiding it only leads to greater internal tension and strife. And avoiding conflict just guarantees you're going to have a lot of conflict in your life. When you don't deal with conflict, it doesn't go away. It just goes beneath the surface, and you get to have all these conflicts in your head rather than with people. So conflict is a normal part of life. I don't like it. You don't like it. I wish we didn't have it, but it's not the Garden of Eden. So in grieving this loss, nines can learn to engage with life, embracing healthy conflict when necessary as a necessary part of growth. And nines, when you can grieve the loss that you're never going to feel fully comfortable or fully at harmony in your environment or peace, you then provide that for everybody else. You are the harmony makers. You're the people that come into chaos and you calm us all down and you get us to listen to each other. Like a band leader, you get us all playing together once again. So there's harmony in the team. When you can let go of your own need for harmony and peace and comfort, you can then provide it to others. But when you can't let go of it, you'll run away from the chaos to protect your own peace and comfort. You will move across the country or move across, the city or whatever it takes, change jobs, get divorced, whatever it takes to protect your own peace and harmony and comfort. You'll do everything except confront the problem. Okay, so what are we saying in this video? What's the point of all this? If you've made it to this point, what's the point of all this? Well, each Enneagram type has a unique grief that they have to face, a longing within you that can never be fully satisfied. It's a piece of brokenness left over from Eden, a longing for Eden, a longing for perfection, a longing for connection. And we don't live in that world of Eden any longer. And that need, that longing will never really be satisfied in this world. But acknowledging and grieving these unmet desires, we free ourselves to live more fully and more present in this life, accepting life as it is and accepting the people around us and the relationships around us as they are. We're all broken and this world is broken, and the Enneagram points out our brokenness, and through that, it points us back to God. It points us back to ourselves. It points us back to Eden. It points us back to our fallenness, and it points us to a Savior. So the journey about the Enneagram isn't about achieving perfection or finding ultimate fulfillment here on earth. It's about learning to live with our brokenness, to grieve our losses, and to trust in the deeper fulfillment that awaits us in God's presence. It prepares us for heaven, just like the Bible does. Until then, we can show up fully present for the life we're living right now. If this resonated with you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel for more awesome content to help you and your family and your marriage and on your path forward. And check out this video that I've linked and this playlist that I linked, and feel free to put comments in. You don't have to agree with me, just get the conversation going, put some comments in there, and let's talk about it. And as always, guys, grieve your loss and be present to life. I'll see you next time.